At least 10 South Africans are still missing after their convoy was ambushed in northern Mozambique. 43 have now been accounted for. One South African was killed when insurgents attacked Palma in the north part of the country last week. That's in the province of Cabo Delgado. Well, to unpack this story a little bit more and get some more insights, I'm joined now by veteran journalist and author Joseph Hanlon, all the way from London. Joe, good afternoon. Good to have you on lunchtime here on ENCA. It's a long time since you and I have spoken about what's happening in Mozambique. You have your finger on the pulse there. You write daily about Mozambique. You've written dozens of books about Mozambique and its relation with Southern Africa. The situation in northern Mozambique, in Cabo Delgado, seems to be escalating every week. Currently, the world is focusing on Palma after 100-odd foreigners were caught up in the fighting in that hotel. From your perspective, how bad are things now?
Good morning, Dan, and pleased to be talking to you again after many years. I think things are actually very serious because Palma is a district capital as well as being the center for all the contract workers on the gas project. And it was a coordinated attack. It came the same day that the government and Total said that they were going to protect a security cordon around the gas project, and that security cordon included the town of Palma. And I think that what we're seeing is that the insurgents were well organized and could basically walk in and drive into the town almost unresisted. And I think that it shows that the Mozambican military security services are simply not able to resist the insurgency.
I was about to ask, where was the army?
Well, that's a very good question. A big portion of the army was inside the Afungi camp, because a lot of people have been assigned to protect the workers inside the camp. And this promise to create a security cordon around the construction camp is new, and a few blockhouses had been built along the main road, but it's clear that there was just nobody there to resist the insurgency.
Now, it's in the headlines because of the Palma and the insurgency and, of course, the Afungi camp being surrounded. But people are asking, where does this all begin? You are hearing about ISIS links today, and I'm reading other reports where people are saying it all starts from disillusioned young people who were angry that there's not been much development under the Frelimo government for years and decided to take up arms in 2017.
Yeah, that is indeed the case. I mean, Cabo Delgado didn't used to be a resource province. It was a province that had been basically abandoned and ignored by the government, and it's a province which had been getting poorer, had been getting more unequal. So what we saw over the period up to, say, a decade ago, before the gas and the rubies were found, is that young people had no future. Then they discovered rubies. The ruby mine was opened 10 years ago, and thousands of people, literally thousands, were thrown off the ruby mine. Artisanal miners, farmers, so on, lost their jobs. So nothing local came from the ruby mine. Then 2015, we get the development of the gas fields. Lots of people from other parts of Mozambique come in with their fancy 4x4s. Fancy houses get built, but again, no local jobs. And so what was growing was this sense that we have no future. Young people are saying, not only do we have no future, but they're throwing our parents off the land. Our parents are losing out. And so finally, in 2015, 2016, 2017, there were fundamentalist Islamist preachers who were saying, The answer to this is Sharia law, because Sharia law will bring about equity and that you will get a share of this wealth because Sharia will make everybody equal. And that had some resonance with a Muslim and a largely Muslim area. And remember, these are young people who really see they have no future.
Yeah.
They have a bit of education, but they're not going to be hoe farmers like their parents.
You know, Joe. Overnight, I got a text sent to me from Mozambique, a text that's doing the rounds in the social media space in Mozambique, and it's written by somebody called Natercio Lopes Tuesa, and it's in Portuguese, and it somehow backs up what you are saying. And it basically saying in Portuguese that the exploration of the gas has come to destroy our lives. And I'm reading it here live on air. In Portuguese, a exploração do gás veio para destruir as nossas vidas, as nossas casas, os nossos empregos, as nossas aldeias. Perdemos tudo. Estamos sendo evacuados para outro mundo onde tudo vai começar de zero. Basically saying we've lost everything. We've lost our jobs, our villages, in a world where gas has been discovered, and we have no choice but to start from zero. Basically, we're going to go to war because we've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I think that's very important, and I think a lot of young people would support that statement because they say we have no future. And we need to go, to save our own lives, we have to turn to violence. There's no non-violent solution. And what is interesting, after the first attack in Mocimboa de Praia in 2017, the insurgents got a huge amount of support, and they spread really very rapidly. And they are still a locally controlled insurgency. They are still mostly local people. And they have some acceptance in the local population, what is left of the local population.
Now, finally, Joe, before as we conclude here, what are the implications for regional peace and security for us, like here in South Africa? Currently, we know some South Africans are caught up there, and that South African mercenary private military team has been used by the Mozambican government since last year to try and fight this insurgency. What are the implications in terms of peace and security for the region?
Well, I think at the moment, all this talk about it's going to get to South Africa is mythical because the expansion will continue to be in Mozambique, into the rest of Cabo Delgado province, into Niassa province, into Nampula province. Now, the thing that does happen is if South Africans are joining this, then they will go back to Cape Town, they will go back to Durban, and they will then talk to their friends and say, okay, this seems to be having an effect, let's do this. But I think that will be the spread through individuals. I think at the moment the insurgency is going to spread on the ground in Mozambique. I mean, these are local people. Most of them don't even know where South Africa is. And I think that we have to be careful about assuming this. And also the links to ISIS. I mean, you look at the statement that was put out a couple days ago by ISIS, they're using pictures from another town. They're using pictures from Mocimboa de Praia. They obviously had no contact with the insurgency for this statement.
So Joe, were the Americans hasty then in declaring this insurgency as done by foreign-based organizations? From just what you've said, if it's such a localized conflict with those disillusioned young people, who of course the majority of whom in northern Mozambique are of the Muslim faith.
Yeah, it wasn't hasty by the U.S. They need this. Their new enemy is Islam, and so they are very much trying to capture bases. I mean, they have this anti-ISIS campaign, which allegedly has 83 countries, and they want to be fighting in as many countries as possible against ISIS, which is really against Islam. And so they weren't hasty at all. They were very fast to claim another country where they can send Green Berets to fight against ISIS.
And those berets are there. Those berets now are there on the ground in northern Mozambique, training the Mozambican military. The solution then will not be a military solution to end this conflict. From what you've said, it's around addressing the legitimate concerns of the local population who feel left out of developmental efforts in 45 years of Mozambique's independence.
If you created 10,000 jobs in Cabo Delgado now, the war would stop. But we don't want to do that because that's expensive and blames what we've done in the past, and so we'd much rather get the U.S. just to train our troops and make it a war.
Is Frelimo largely to blame then for this, and is it capable of finding a solution?
Yes, it's largely to blame, but yes, it could find a solution. I mean, there are many divisions within Frelimo. They have to choose a successor to President Nyusi who can't stand for another term. And there are people inside Frelimo who say, you know, what we've been doing recently is wrong and we have to move to the development of the country. I mean, the key thing is that I think the gas is finished now. I don't see Total ever going back there.
You don't think Total will go back to explore?
I mean, ExxonMobil has already made clear it's not ever going to open its part of the gas field. Italian Eni is not going to expand beyond a single floating platform. Total has got other interests in Africa. Why do they want to get involved in this kind of mess? They haven't spent a lot of money yet. And if they go back, they're going to be spending $20 billion. And so they need to feel that they're going to be really secure. That's going to take 2 or 3 years to set up, by which time the gas market will continue to collapse. I don't think Total will come back.
That's a very serious thing, because I remember when this was discovered in 2015, the former president of Mozambique, Joaquim Chissano, saying they hope this will be a blessing to Mozambique instead of being a curse. But it's turning out to be a curse.
Definitely a resource curse.
Thank you very much. Joe Hanlon there, giving us his insights and expert, of course, on Mozambique. I worked with Joe Hanlon in Mozambique for many years when he was a correspondent for the BBC in Maputo, and now he's a writer, and he writes daily about what's happening in northern Mozambique and Mozambique in general, and he's written dozens of books over the years about Mozambique and its relation with the rest of southern Africa.